welcome. Again, my name is Kimberly Brown, and by trade, I'm a physical therapist. I work in pediatrics. I work with children with developmental disabilities, and right now I work for the school department in Lewiston, Maine, and help service children that need wheelchairs and all of that. But that's my day job. Then my after work job, which is time consuming, is my work at the Farmingdale Seventh-day Adventist Church. And so I am the director of our outreach ministries. So the church is small enough. A number of years ago, the board consolidated a whole bunch of ministries into one called Outreach. So we cover health, we cover whatever we feel led to do in terms of outreach. But a big part of what we do for outreach is health. Because we really feel that health is the right arm of the gospel, so that's where we need to start. So that's just a little bit about who I am, and I wanted to start this presentation about the depression and anxiety recovery program with a little bit of my story, my why this program, and why I'm involved with that. So a little bit about me. I grew up in a Seventh-day Adventist home. Both my parents were Seventh-day Adventist. My dad became Seventh-day Adventist, and my mom was raised Adventist, but they were both Adventist by the time that I was born. So I grew up in an SDA home. I had a personal relationship with the Lord from an early age and as a child growing up. But even with that, I struggled with mental health issues. And so I first was diagnosed at the age of 18 with depression. And so that went on pretty much into adulthood. I really believe I was struggling before 18. That's when it first got a label to it. And then I continued to suffer into adulthood. And even after the birth of my children, I have 2 sons. And so I was on medication for a short time, didn't really work too well. And then I also have an extensive family history with mental health issues. I have a sister who struggled with an eating disorder for quite some time. She started struggling at the age of 10. By 20, she was on the verge of death. She finally enrolled in a lifestyle residential treatment program, and she's been in remission from that for quite a number of years now, thankfully. But that was going on. I have 2 sisters, both of which attempted suicide in their late teens, early 20s. Then I have other family members that had attempted suicide, have family members with bipolar disorder, depression, anxiety, the whole gamut. So that really was my family in history and background. And then to this mix as an adult, I was married to a man who was struggling with sex addiction, infidelity, difficulty maintaining stability with a job. So I ended up going into the workforce when my kids were quite small, and my goal had been to be a stay-at-home mom. That was the whole sort of plan. And all of that, so that was out the window. So I really felt with my family history, all the genetics, the circumstances that I found myself living in, I was just doomed to be depressed. Like, that's the way it is. What can you do if this is your background? Yes, you love the Lord, but things are really difficult and things are really tough. So I thought because of all of this, there was just no way out. And I was at a point where I was really probably on the verge of a mental breakdown with all that was going on in my life at that time. My kids were small at that time. But the church that I was attending, this was in Miami, and they had a Nedley depression and anxiety recovery program that they were going to be doing, a community program. So I decided, well, I'll go to this program. And that was a huge turning point for me. I can't say that everything was better immediately, but it started to put in order, things to move in a better trajectory. And that program, and it's something that's been mentioned already here this weekend, it provided hope, because I really didn't feel that there was hope. I felt that if I have this genetic history and this strong genetic tendency and the circumstances that I'm in, anybody else would be depressed too. So what am I supposed to do? And so this program really provided hope and really was a turning point for me to start a healing process that is still going on, many years later. But I was first introduced to this program, that was about 15 years ago now, that I was introduced to that program. So I ended up becoming a depression and anxiety program associate director. I got my certification for that a number of years ago, And once you get your certification, you're supposed to do a program within a couple of years, or then you have to get recertified, and there's various things. We'll talk about that a little. Looked at New England, and especially in Maine. I grew up here, but then I was gone for 30 years, and now I've been back since 2020. There's just a real struggle with mental health in New England, and I see it in my family, I see it in other places, and so I just had this burden to do something related to mental health coming back to Maine. So I was praying about that. Our church is an older church. I'm one of the youngest people that is there. And so I was like, how is this going to work? It can't be a one-man show. And I was, really praying about that. And we have a new lady that moved to our church in this past year, who really was, I believe, an answer to prayer, because almost immediately on coming to church, she joined the outreach team. And when we started discussing this as a possible option of one of our outreach activities, and several of the people on the outreach team were really interested in having the program. They wanted to be able to attend the program and learn more about it as well. And she said, well, I'm certified. I said, hallelujah, so God brought the person that was needed in order to do the program. So I wanted to share, before I go a little bit more, one of the Bible verses that I really enjoy that speaks to why do this program and for me. And that's when God shared 2 Corinthians chapter 1. It says, blessed be God, even the Father of our Lord Jesus Christ, the Father of mercies and the God of all comfort, who comforteth us in all our tribulation, that we may be able to comfort them which are in any trouble by the comfort wherewith we ourselves are comforted of God. And so that was really the answer that God gave me for myself, all of the things that I had gone through, dealing with depression and all of the various challenges that I've gone through this. God comforted me. God brought answers. Now I can bring that to somebody else. So there really is a purpose, even having gone through the pain and difficulty, there's a purpose on the other side. And so I really loved that verse, and God just continues to bring it to mind. I wanted to share a little bit about mental health in the church as well. Growing up in the church, there was very little discussion around mental health. And if there was discussion around mental health, it was not good discussion around mental health. It really was, if you're struggling with this, you're a sinner, you don't have any faith, you're not connected with God, you're not praying hard enough, you're not doing things hard enough. If you just, would change your mind, you wouldn't be depressed, all of these things. And so that was a flavor in the church for a very long time. I'm not sure about other areas. It certainly was the flavor here in New England and growing up in Maine. And so thankfully with this program, and I think as more and more awareness is happening in society as a whole as well, there's a lot more openness in talking about the program. And there's aspects that are taught through this program that are really beneficial and isn't just a person not having faith or not having something. People need tools, and you don't know how to use tools if you don't have the tools. And so this program is really a program to help give people the tools that they need to be able to navigate depression and anxiety. And when you put those tools in place, you start to see recovery. So just as we were just listening to the diabetes reversal program, that gentleman, as he started to put the tools in place, he started to get feeling back in his feet. He started being able to walk. He started improving his vision. These were gradual changes that happened as those tools were put into place. And so this is the same type of thing, same type of progress. There can be recovery, and there can be complete recovery from depression and anxiety through applying the tools of this program and using them consistently. And that's what's exciting and encouraging, because we'll talk about in a little bit about what we're seeing in society. Even the results with medication are not that great. So that's one of the things that makes this program so beneficial and so useful. So I will share some of the statistics of things that are going on. So as we know, mental health is at an all-time high in the United States, really worldwide, but it's especially bad in the United States. Current polls and statistics show that depression rates are climbing for all people. And it's really important to note mental disorders can affect anyone, anywhere, at any time, any background, any religion. No, there's no factor that says, oh, if you have this factor, you're not going to have this. It really affects people across the board. And the increase in depression and anxiety, there's a lot of reasons. There's a lot going on in our world. There's a lot of economic hardship, economic uncertainty, social isolation, family issues. I mean, the number of broken homes is rising. Food insecurity. I work in Lewiston, and we have a lot of children that come to school. They really are food insecure, being able to know where their next meal is coming from. So that is definitely a stressor for families. And a lot of people have this prevalent fear that's with them. They see things that are going on in the world. They don't understand what's going on in the world. They don't have the same view and understanding of the great controversy and the nearness of Christ's return. So they're concerned about the future. They're concerned about the elections coming up, or what if there's another pandemic, or all of these things that are weighing on people's minds. So there was a cross-sectional analysis of 29 countries, and they found that approximately 1 out of every 2 people will suffer from a mental health disorder at some point during their lifetime. So that was over 29 countries. Presently, there's over 1 in 4 worldwide, which is about 2 billion people, that are living with a mental disorder. And in the USA, it's just over 1 in 3 adults suffer from a diagnosable mental disorder in any given year. So the numbers are quite high for those that are suffering. According to a 2023 Gallup poll, 29% of American adults report having been diagnosed with depression by a health professional at some point in their lifetimes. And over 264 million people are suffering from anxiety disorders globally. So among adults, mental illnesses are now the most common in the 18 to 25-year-old range. And mental health disorders are especially on a sharp increase among children. This is the latest statistic that is out, is that 49.5% of adolescents aged 13 to 18 report having had a mental health disorder. So 49.5% of our young people, 13 to 18, are struggling with these issues. And we can see with the things that are going on in our culture and the agendas that are being pushed and the things that are happening in the world, it's a really difficult time to be growing up and for kids to be trying to navigate these things. We have a hard enough time trying to navigate them as adults. So there's this real big stress on children. And even with all of the numbers that I've shared, it doesn't capture everyone. Lots of people haven't filled out a survey. Lots of people don't go to the doctor and get diagnosed. Lots of people are still struggling with shame and embarrassment if they are having any type of mental health issues. So they're not seeking the help and not getting recorded. So for you as a parent or a sibling or a friend, it means that you will inevitably be faced with addressing a mental health issue at some point in your lifetime, either a personal crisis or in the life of someone that you know and love. So pretty much all of us have probably encountered this at some point, and if not yet, we will. So the key is that there is help and there is hope. And that's what I mentioned about this program and why I really enjoy it. In order to have depression and what depression is, it's defined, there's a diagnosis and statistic manual, and it has all these, hefty definitions on what things are. They basically look at a variety of symptoms. And out of the 9 symptoms that they specify, a person has to have at least 5 of them in order to be diagnosed with major depression. The symptoms include deep sadness or emptiness, apathy or loss of interest, agitation or slowing down, sleep disturbance, either getting too much sleep or too little sleep, weight or appetite changes, lack of concentration, fatigue, feelings of worthlessness, and morbid thoughts. That would be things like thinking, oh, it'd just be better if I went to bed and never woke up again, or if you're driving your car, if I could just drive off into the ditch, everyone's life would be better without me in it, those type of thoughts. So if you have 5 out of 9 of those symptoms that last for over 2 weeks, then you would be considered in the category of having major depression. Anxiety is excessive fear or worry about a variety of topics, events, or activities. And so for anxiety, you have to have 3 or more of the symptoms. Some of them are very similar to depression, and so there's definitely some overlap there. But the symptoms for anxiety include feeling on edge or restless, having muscle aches and soreness, being easily fatigued or worn out, concentration problems, irritability, and difficulty sleeping. So you can see where some of that overlap is, and the things that are discussed in the depression and anxiety recovery program really targets both. So if you're struggling with depression or anxiety or a combination of both, it's going to be targeted, that program. So the program itself was developed by Dr. Neil Nedley. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Dr. Nedley. He is a physician in Weimar, California. He's the president now of Weimar University. He's an internal medicine physician. So it seems interesting that he's not a psychologist, he's not a psychiatrist, but he got interested in mental health when he was working with his patients. He was treating, internal issues, and he was seeing people come with really difficult to diagnose situations, unexplained abdominal pain, various things like this. And so they were having psychosomatic chest pain and other issues. So he started saying something has to be going on beyond physical, because we're not finding physical things when we do their studies and we do their blood work, that we're not getting physical answers to what's happening. So his fascination began around the 1990s. He started really looking at his patients and trying to figure out what was going on. And he started to hypothesize that some of these health principles that we know and love could make a difference, and there could be things happening. So he started working on this with his patients. He was trained as an internal medicine physician to look at the cause of diseases. So he started trying to figure out what's causing this, what is leading to it. And he found that many of the causes of mental health disorders could be resolved with education and health coaching. He found a lot of areas of things that contribute to the mental health disorders were actually reversible and could be treated. So he was hoping that with his hypothesis, and if he started putting this into practice, that he would have a success rate that might approach that of medication. So he thought, well, if medication is working so well, maybe if I incorporate some of this, I hope that it can be at least as successful as medication. But medication, if you don't know, is not all that successful in treating mental health disorders. So Nature magazine had an article. So the study in Nature magazine, it was conducted in real life clinical settings, and they looked at a common antidepressant where it produced a response in just under half of the participants and achieved full remission in only 28% of the participants. So not great numbers. And that's where Dr. Nedley was hoping, well, at least my program hopefully will at least achieve results as good as the medication. But the results that he found were actually better than what medication was producing. So the Nedley Depression and Anxiety Recovery Program, or NDARP for short, is a well-researched program. It's scientifically based. Since he began doing the program, he collects numbers from participants. They're anonymous numbers, but he continuously looks at those numbers so that he has before and after results and really can analyze what's happening with this program. It's a mental health education program, and it's created to provide a roadmap toward regaining hope and finding recovery for those suffering from depression and anxiety. It's a very comprehensive program. It doesn't just target one area. It doesn't just look at nutrition or just look at exercise, or it looks at all sorts of different areas. It includes all of those. It includes nutrition, it includes exercise, and a whole variety of things. And it really helps participants find keys to a new life, and it's an 8-week program. The overall program itself is 20 weeks, but the participants come and participate with you actively in live sessions for 8 weeks. After the 8 weeks, they continue to carry on these principles for a full 20 weeks. So it is,
Do they get weaned off of medication if they are on medications during that time?
Some people do. We always encourage people when they're going through the program, stay in communication with your doctor and don't take yourself off medication.
Right.
Dr. Nedley himself prescribes medication at times. Sometimes medication is needed to help bring you to a level of homeostasis where you can even begin to change and make the changes necessary.
Mm-hmm.
If you're really depressed, you may not even have the motivation to get out of bed to go to the class. You may not have that. You need the medication to help bring you to a level to even begin to work on the process. So there's definitely a time and place for medication, but many people, and we'll share some of the statistics momentarily, do come off medication and are able to stay off medication by following these principles. There really are people that no longer have clinical signs of depression or anxiety after following these principles. The program is helpful because it really helps participants find the motivation that they need to help them achieve their goals and then to enjoy optimal health. And you don't have to be depressed or anxious to attend the program and gain a benefit from it. The principles that are shared are things that could help anybody, really help to improve the functioning of your mind. And so it can be beneficial for anyone. It teaches practical interventions and tools that can be used every day. And that's what's really needed when anyone is struggling with any type of mental health disorder. They need something. How can I get through today? What can I do today? And so this is really structured for step by step, day by day. You add on a little bit more as you go through the program. So over 10,400 people have gone through the program in every continent around the world except for Antarctica. So that's his study base right now, 10,400 people, and so the statistics are based on that number of participants. And there have been documented improvements in people that have major depression, situational depression, dysrhythmia, bipolar depression, generalized anxiety disorder, social anxiety or social appearance anxiety, panic disorders, phobias, eating disorders, obsessive compulsive disorder, post-traumatic stress disorder, and addiction disorders, as well as attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. So all of those areas have shown improvement or full remission of people going through this program. They've actually done studies comparing participants going through this program as opposed to a community addiction program for something such as a stop smoking program, if you've ever heard of that. They have better results for people stopping smoking by going through this program than they do if they go through a stop smoking program. And that is because it's working on the mental health and the mental outlook and targeting the underlying issue of why the addiction is there to begin with. So very impressive. So I'm going to share a bit of the statistics from the program around depression. Over 7,000 of the participants, so of the 10,400 people, 7,000 of them qualified as having major depression. Severe depression at baseline. So if people came in, there are levels of major depression. There's mild depression, moderate depression, and severe depression. So of those that were diagnosed, were meeting criteria for severe major depression, at baseline when they entered the program, 94.5% of them improved at least one category by the end of 8 weeks. So if they started with that severe depression, they would have at least improved to moderate depression or possibly mild depression just in the first 8 weeks of the program. If they entered with moderate depression, they over 90% improved at least one category by the end of the 8 weeks. And if they entered with mild depression, 84% had no depression at the end of 8 weeks. Of all the depressed participants, so if they were all lumped together, 51.7% had no depression. So over half the participants had no depression after 8 weeks. So that is a huge difference compared to what we were learning about the medication, where only 28% had remission. And this program doesn't have side effects. So that's a really big plus. Anxiety improvements. Anxiety is often considered more difficult to treat than depression. And those that had severe anxiety at baseline, over 95% decreased to a less severe category. If they started with moderate depression, 89.8% improved at least one category. And if they had mild anxiety, 85% improved to no anxiety. So when they lumped them all together, of all the anxious participants, 57% had no anxiety after 8 weeks, which is an even bigger improvement than depression. So the results from this program are just amazing, far beyond what's available with any type of conventional intervention or treatment. And a benefit from the program as well is emotional intelligence improvements. So you have an IQ, emotional intelligence is your EQ, and emotional intelligence affects your relationships with people, how you view the world and interact. That shows improved relationships of all kinds, ability to work more effectively and productively. People with improved emotional intelligence often have greater wage opportunities for advancement at work, because now if you're getting along better in your relationships, you're less confrontational and argumentative, you're likely going to move forward in work. So that's a nice byproduct of this program. The side effect is improving your emotional intelligence. So that's definitely a plus. So I wanted to share a few little testimonies from people that have gone through the program. This one lady, she says, when I got into the program, I realized that there were a lot of nutritional information that would benefit me, and it did. I had a hard time sleeping. I'd wake up in the middle of the night and couldn't get back to sleep. Now, even if I wake up in the middle of the night, I am able to go back to sleep. I especially recommend this program to anyone who has difficulty with sleep, stress, or getting along with other people. And this other person said, I am grateful for all the blessings, healing, and benefits I've received. I was able to get off Prozac, which I've been on for 18 years. Praise God. Another lady reports that she hasn't had any headaches since she started the program for nearly a month. So she was struggling with headaches. I really like this program because it gets to the root of the problem rather than just treating the symptoms. This program is an outstanding self-help program for those who are suffering from high levels of stress, anxiety, and depression. And just this week, we just passed week 3 in our program that we're presently running in Farmingdale, and one of the participants told me that she already notices that she's sleeping better and her skin is looking better. She's like, I didn't think my skin would improve. My skin's looking better, and she was so excited that her skin is looking better. And depending on our time, there's a variety of more testimonies that I can share as well a bit later on. So we will get into you can take one and pass it around. This is a little bit more of the nuts and bolts of the NDART program. I'll give you a second to get that. Yeah, you just keep all the extras. We'll collect them at the end. So I already shared that this is really well researched and it's scientifically based, and that's important. A lot of people really want to know that they can count on what they're being told, and as we were just sharing in our last session, you don't have to be a medical professional, but having something that you can say, hey, this is backed by science, this is scientifically proven to work, just helps people to feel more comfortable with the program and that it's actually going to be something that can help. So some things that you want to consider if you were thinking about having a program in your church or running a program, you want to choose your program. So they have two different tracks. They have the religious track and the non-religious track. We're doing it at the Farmingdale Church. We chose to do the religious track. Obviously, we're running it as a church. We wanted that to be part of the program. Some people, however, and it may be something, for example, like they were sharing in their community where people weren't really open to Adventists and they weren't really interested in this, they have a non-religious track. So sometimes this will be offered in a fire station or a community center to government officials, or sometimes in a school if they see that a lot of people are struggling. And so you have the option of not having that strict religious component to it, in order to, if there's governmental things that say, oh, you can't do a program that's, talking about God. There are still ways as you get to interact and meet with the people, and they want to know where you're from and who you're from. The whole goal is, as we've been talking so far this weekend, to build relationships with the people and ultimately introduce them to the Lord. Mm-hmm. But sometimes through the program itself may not be where they get that introduction. It's getting to know you, feeling comfortable with the program, and then they want to learn more after the fact. So there is that option of doing the non-religious program. But like I said, we're running the religious program. There's minor differences. The religious program makes references to scripture. It gives a couple of examples of people in the Bible as it's sharing in the lectures, and those particular stories are left out of the non-religious one. Otherwise, the material is all the same, and it's all religious anyway because it's God's truth, and it's, so they don't know where the source is from, but that's where the source is from. So even in the non-religious one, they're still getting the tenets that are from the Lord. So in order to host a program, it requires at least one certified associate director and one certified facilitator. So you have to have at least 2 people that are certified. If you are certified as an associate director, you can serve as the associate director, or you can also serve as a facilitator, but you can't serve as both at the same time. So the associate director is the person that really is kind of the logistics person of the program. They're organizing the program. They're in touch with Nedley Health. They're ordering all of the materials for the class. They're setting up the class, making sure that you have all of the materials that you need. They have door prizes that they recommend doing each week, and so the associate director is getting the door prizes and all of those little things that need to be done. The facilitator, when we actually run the program, the first part is an hour-long discussion from Dr. Nedley. It's on video, and then you break up into a support group type session. The facilitator runs that support group session. So you have to have those 2 people, an associate director and a facilitator. There is one exception. The exception is if you are an associate director and you want to have 1 to 5 people in your home that you're personally working with, you can run a group with those 1 to 5 people in your home as an associate director without anybody else. Okay. But if you want to do anything other than that and really have it as a church program or a community program, you have to have the 2 people to be able to do that. Let me see. There are additional people that could be very helpful. There's all sorts of recommendations, and I'm going to go over that in a little bit, but you can have people that are greeters, you can have people that are registration assistants and keeping your weekly records, an advertising coordinator, an audiovisual technician, facility coordinator, food sample coordinator. If there's a smaller program, and I put a note there on the sheet, facilitators can often fill multiple positions and do multiple things. They really don't recommend that the associate director do multiple things because they really want you to be focused on the people and what you need to be doing for that. I will say, depending on the venue that you choose, we're hosting ours in the church. So because I'm in the church all of the time and I'm comfortable with our Wi-Fi system, I didn't feel that we needed an audiovisual person to come and sit there, and they're confidential sessions, so they basically have to come and, hang out for 2 hours. So I don't have an audiovisual person coming. I thought it's not something that we need. I just make sure I get there early and things are running and operating, and if not, I have someone on the phone I can call and they can walk me through it, but I didn't feel that was necessary. But if you're hosting it in a community setting, or you're in a hotel that you're renting a space or some sort of different space, you probably would want that audiovisual person so that you're not running into issues. Because you really want to keep your classes to the time limit that's specified, which is 2 hours. So each time you meet is 2-hour session. There was something. Oh, probably have it further on. If I wrote it on your page or not, I can't find it at the moment. Oh, I might have. With one associate director and one facilitator, you can have up to 15 participants in the program. If you have a second facilitator, you can have up to an additional 15 participants in the program. Our program that we're currently running, we have 15 participants and we have 2 facilitators. I really would recommend not having 15 people with one facilitator. If you have the option of having a second facilitator, it's really beneficial, because when you break up into those small groups, it allows you to have a smaller group. So our group size, we have one group with 7 participants and one group with 8 participants. That's really comfortable. It's a room about this size. The chairs are in a circle and people are really starting to share and feel comfortable with one another. When we have all of them, when we watch the video at the beginning, we're in one room, all of us together. It's a good sized room. It looks like a lot of people, and some of the people that are attending are quite shy and quiet. I don't think they would really participate if there was a group of 15 people. And you can think of yourself, if you're in a group with 15 people, how much do you want to open up and share, especially if other people are talking, like, oh, people are already talking, there's no space for me to talk. So if ideal group size is 7 to 8. Not always possible. So if you do need to have up to 15 people in a group, it is allowable with the parameters of the program. But once you go to 16 people, you have to have that second facilitator. The budget, people are always concerned about the budget. The depression anxiety program is designed to be self-supporting. So there is a fee that is charged to participants. It is not free for participants. A lot of times when people see that something's free, they feel it's not really beneficial. People need to be able to have a buy-in. Also, if you have a buy-in and you've contributed money, you're more likely to show up because you've spent money on this and you want to be there. That being said, they try to keep the cost of the program as low as possible. You get a lot of materials when you come to the program. Plus you get the weekly lectures for 8 weeks. Plus you get the support group. If you did anything like that in the community, it would be thousands of dollars. And this is capped at $200 a participant. You have a minimum price, and then the cap is $200, and then you figure out for your area what it is that you're going to be charging for your group. Well, I'll go over the materials in a bit, but you want to charge enough for the class that you're covering. If you're renting a facility space, you want that cost to be covered. If you're buying door prizes, you want that to be covered. Anything that is going to be a cost associated with your program. If you are doing food samples, you want that to be covered. So you look at the cost of what you're paying for your materials, all of the things added up, and then you come up with your price that you're charging for your class. So it shouldn't end up costing you. Now, it'd be money up front, because if you want to purchase things up front or get started, but the money comes back. And so it really shouldn't be an investment of money for the church. We will talk about one thing that the church can choose to invest in is if you want to help to pay for the certification for your associate directors and your facilitators. We'll talk about that in just a minute. So for the material, the fees that you're charging covers all of the things that I shared. Other things that we purchased, we have water bottles, so, and participants have been grabbing those. Water is a big thing that's talked about in the program. We have water bottles in the main room when we meet for the video, and even when they break up into the small groups, we have baskets of water available for them. We also have tissues around in various areas and available for them. So those little type of incidentals you want to include. All of the cost for materials is outlined in the training materials. So when you get trained as an associate director or as a facilitator, they cover everything. It's an extensive training, and I'll talk about that in a minute. I will. Perfect. So I will show you what a kit looks like, and you can determine what you want to do for a kit. At our church, we decided that we wanted to order the bags for everybody because it's a nice way when they arrive to the first class, they get the bag and everything's inside it. So the bags are an additional fee, but we felt it was worth it to do that. We also included in our kit the Nedley pen, so they don't have to go hunting it around trying to find something for the class. They have a pen. It has, when each time you click it, it has a little saying inside, and it's all little tips from the program, so you have a little reminder of what's happening. We decided as a church to not increase the price of our program to include these two books. We decided to cover the cost of these in our kits because we thought they were important for everyone to have a copy and to keep the cost of our program as low as we could. So it's a Psalms and Proverbs and a Ministry of Healing. And so you have the option to add that to the kit. It's not in the base kit, but that is an option to add to the kit. The base kit includes the main textbook, which is this one, Depression: The Way Out. It's currently on back order until July. So they are replacing it presently with The Lost Art of Thinking. It's actually an upgraded book to this one, and so all of our participants presently have The Lost Art of Thinking. They did not get this book because it's on back order. So they have The Lost Art of Thinking book. It includes a program workbook. It includes a daily journal, and it includes Telling Yourself the Truth, and SOS Help for Emotions. So if you purchased all of these things separately, you're looking at several $100s just in the books. This on Amazon, I don't know, is 20-something dollars. I think this one's around $24 just for these two books that are included in your kit.
So what did you guys set the price at?
Our price for our program is $175. So that covers their kit. Even if you purchase the kit online yourself, like you could go to the Nedley Health website, you could try to purchase this kit. It would cost you more money than it costs us to do in the program, because when you run a program, they give a really huge discount to associate directors. So if you are running a program as an associate director, you have access to that discount. So that allows you to keep the cost of your class lower. They do offer this program online, so people could go on, they purchase the kit, they do all the courses online. I really recommend the in-person program. Doing it online by yourself, you're missing out on the support. You're missing out on that human interaction and being able to see other people and meet with other people that may be struggling with some things similar to yourself. So there's really something great that happens when you are interacting with people personally. So the cost is actually less expensive to go to an in-person class than to sign up and do the class online by yourself. So
Is the in-person in California, or you can associate?
no, like right now we're running it in Farmingdale,
Okay.
so it's in person. The people come. Dr. Nedley is on video,
Okay.
and so we sit and watch his video at the beginning, but the rest of it is all in person. So I'm the associate director for the program that we're running, so each week I welcome everybody there. There's a few little things that I share with them. We put the video on, then we do a drawing for a door prize, and I'll share about what some of those are in a minute. And then they break up into their small groups and do the little support group time.
Okay, so is that for the training that you're conducting the training, or is that an actual seminar?
It's an actual seminar. So it's the Depression and Anxiety Recovery Program. So I'm going to talk about the training that I had to do to become an associate director. I'm going to talk about that in a minute.
Okay.
So right now I'm just talking about what participants are coming to, what the program is that we are offering to the community and to our members. Some things that you need to consider if you are wanting to do a program like this. You need to consider the time. The timeline, while the course itself you're offering to the community is 8 weeks, there's a couple of months before that 8 weeks starts where you're putting things in place and getting things lined up. You also have free introductory sessions that are offered to the community before your 8 weeks starts. So we decided to have 3. We had one on a Sunday, we had one on a Tuesday, and one on a Thursday. Well, the one on a Thursday we had to cancel because we had like a severe snowstorm that day and everything was closed, and it was still terrible in the evening and none of us were going to go driving out for that. So we ended up only having 2 free sessions. The last free session that you have has to be at least 2 weeks from the start of your NDARP.
Okay.
If you have it, say on a Monday, you can't start your NDARP for 2 weeks past that Monday. That allows you time to have everyone signed up for your class and to know what materials to order, so that you are then collecting the funds for those materials that you're ordering. And that gives them time to ship them to you. The shipping was much faster than I anticipated. I ordered stuff. I had the materials within like 3 days, but they want you to have that 2-week window in case something happens for that. So you also need time beforehand. You need to prepare and distribute advertising. So one of the things with this program, and I'll talk about that training in a bit, when you are an associate director, you have access to an online portal, which is really nice because when I first got my training as an associate director, it was a share file on a computer, and so it was just this link and you got like all these little folders. It looked like folders on a computer and you had to like, which folder was that in? I gotta find this over here. Well, now they have this beautifully designed portal that really is super user friendly, connects you with other associate directors and facilitators. They have an interactive question and answer, things that are working well on someone's program, things that aren't working well. Tons of resources available at your fingertips when you become an associate director or a facilitator. So you have access to that website and that portal. So that really answers a lot of questions, makes finding your materials really easy. All the videos that you need to share in the class are on the portal, so you just need to log into the internet and access the videos each week. So it's become really, really user-friendly. It's so much easier to run a class now, in my opinion, that they did this update, the 2023 update. It's a life changer in terms of how much easier it is to be able to navigate all the materials. Then you need to choose your venue, whether it's going to be at your church, a local community center, a hotel room, or whatnot. You may need to go to your church board to get approval for the program and get that approved. So you want to look at the timing of when does your church board meet. Oh, I'm planning on having a program here, but the church board doesn't meet for another, X number of weeks. You want to make sure you have time for all of those approvals and things to happen well before you're going to be starting your program. The format for the program, well, I've been talking about the in-person program. That's what we're running in Farmingdale. That is my favorite version. There's also the option to run a virtual NDARP. So you may decide, hey, we don't want to have to get this venue and do this. I want to be, home in the evenings. My facilitator is going to be home in the evenings. We'll do it virtual. So you can do a virtual NDARP. You still have to have an associate director and a facilitator. because your associate director is still going to be running the program. Your facilitator will be in the breakout room. So if you run like a Zoom session and you have your participants, you'd send them into different breakout rooms and they would do their support group in that fashion. Or you could do a combination where you're in person, but perhaps you have one facilitator that is running a virtual group on the side. We're not doing anything virtual. Ours is 100% in-person participation. Each week is about a 2-hour session. As I said, there is one exception to that. The first week of the program and the 8th week of the program, participants are taking what is called the DAT. It's the Depression and Anxiety Assessment Test. And so that is the test where he gets all of his statistics and all of the research on what is happening. I think it's about 80 questions on the test. It looks and then it gives you a detailed report of those risk factors. And then throughout the course, you really learn what can be done to reverse and possibly eliminate those risk factors. And it also lists it, when you get your results of the DAT, it will say nutrition, and then it will give you a little paragraph that gives you some tips and tricks to work on to improve that component. If you have a circadian rhythm hit, that's if you're not getting consistent sleep every night, or too much or too little sleep, and it will give you a little blurb on what changes and things that you can do there. So your results are very specific to you. All of the results that people get go to them directly. Associate directors don't know what their participants' results are. I don't see the results of the participants. I will get a report on, 7 people have, are classified with major depression, or 6 people have anxiety, so it's very general, nothing specific to any individual person. So all of that is kept confidential, and it's emailed directly to the participants with the password that they set up. So that's nice for participants to know too. It's a very confidential program. One of the people in my room is like, nothing's on paper, right? This isn't going to be out somewhere, like people could see my results. And I said, no, it gets emailed directly to you. And so she was very appreciative of that and said, oh, that would just be, I can't imagine if that, got out somewhere. And so it's one thing that's really nice to be able to reassure the people that are coming that no, it's confidential. So let me double check. All right, so the online portal I mentioned briefly, but I'll tell you a little bit more about it. It gives you training manuals. So this is the training manual. I just downloaded it from the portal and put it in this binder to make it easier, but it really tells you everything to do step by step. So it's really like, it's all been done for you. The recipe's here. You really just have to follow what they tell you to follow. It has a section on planning and organization. You have a manual for the associate director, a facilitator manual. They talk about having a graduation banquet. So while the class runs for 8 weeks, we're having a 9th session, which will be optional, but that will be a graduation session that people can come, celebrate, where they've come over the course of the program, encourage people to continue on in the program. And we've actually already put on our calendar at 20 weeks out to have a little reunion session. So that we can meet with the people and say, hey, how have things gone over this 20 weeks? And you'll see the people start to get familiar with each other and familiar with who's in their group. The first week, everyone was like very quiet and no one really talked. And this week, since I'm not in the specific groups, I go in briefly, but I'm not really in there. And so I just heard all of this laughing and talking and coming from both of the different groups. So they're really starting to gel and share with each other and get to know each other. So this is really helpful. Pretty much everything that you need to know is in this manual. This is my sticky. So this is our next week coming up. It gives you an outline for the class. It tells you before the presentation, they have you play classical music while people are entering, and it literally tells you, turn off the classical music, do this. So it's really, it's spelled out bullet point by bullet point what you need to do to lead. So really anybody can do it once you've gone through the training. And then it will tell you after the presentation. So it will say here, play the video. You play the video. And then after the presentation, it tells you what to do. They have another section that gives you ideas for door prizes and simple things to do. I've changed up a couple of the door prizes just because of what I had available and was able to do. So the first week was they were talking about positivity and the power of positive thinking, and really changing the way that we're thinking. And so there were some different examples of that. So I printed a copy for myself, but I just printed this off. I found a small little frame. It is slightly smaller than this that they could sit on their desk. And so this was the first week's door prize. And it said, the more you practice the art of thankfulness, the more you have to be thankful for. So it was just a little reminder. This past week, the door prize was a bag of lentils and a bag of brown rice, and it had a recipe for lentils and rice because we were talking about the benefits of folate, and lentils are high in folate. So we have another one coming up that is another thing around positive thinking, and it's some really cute little sticky notes so that you can put positive reminders and stick it in places where you may be struggling. So they're just simple things. They don't cost a lot of money. They really recommend between $5 and $8. I think so far all my door prizes have been under $5, for the things that we've given out. But it's something that's fun for the class. They look forward to drawing whose name gets drawn out of the hat the next week. And we've set it up that once their name is drawn, we tear it up and it's not drawn again, so the same person isn't getting, the door prize every week. So that is the manual. So if you're like, oh, I did the training, now I can't remember all this stuff, I have to take notes. They don't even give you the manual until you've gone through the whole training. And they'll tell you at the beginning, don't take all these notes, you're gonna get it in a manual form. They just don't give it to you up front because they don't want you busy reading and studying this. They really want you to sit and listen and hear all of the things that they explain. about the program. So that being said, the cost of the training, and this is where I say the church may decide that they want to help out in this area or help to support the individuals that are getting trained. We help to support one of our facilitators. The facilitator did still pay some for the training, but we helped to subsidize that. Mine, I just personally did it because I just felt so strongly about being able to be available to do the program. And I know some other people that have just done the training as well. So really is an individual, situation. But for the associate director, that training is $499. It is a pretty extensive training. It's about 14 hours of training total to complete. It is available online, and it's simple to access the portal. You have video training, and then you also have some offline activities and things that you do. And then there's little tests that are incorporated. So you go through a few lectures, you do a test, you have to get a certain score. If you don't, they let you go back and review things and try it again. So it's really like any other type of training that you do. As a physical therapist, I have continuing education courses. It's very similar to that continuing education. One of the things that is nice, if anybody is in a profession that requires continuing education credits, you can pay, it's a small fee, and I have it written down. I'll share it with you momentarily. Let's see. If you're doing the associate director or facilitator training, it comes out to 1.6 credit hours, which is 16 CEUs, and it's $80. So that's really inexpensive for CEUs, for 16 of them. Usually you can do a course for $200 or $300 and get 8 CEUs or 7 CEUs. So to get 16 CEUs for $80 is really reasonable. So anyone that does the training and does need CEUs, they just have to fill out paperwork and they pay that additional fee. You get a certificate from Andrews University, and it will have your profession license number on it, and then you can use that for whatever is needed in your profession. You also can share that with participants. So one of my participants is wanting to get the CEUs. Participants get 1.4 credit hours or 14 CEUs, and it's $70 for those 14 CEUs. So she's an occupational therapy assistant, and so she wants to have those CEUs to maintain her occupational therapy license. When I took the course as a participant in Florida, we had some people from the community that were mental health care providers, and they got the CEUs to go toward their mental health licenses.
Facilitators or participants?
Everyone can get CEUs, they just have to fill out the paperwork. So facilitators and associate directors get a couple more credits because you're doing the online training. There's a little bit more involved. It's worth 16 CEUs, but participants can get 14 CEUs.
Okay, thank you.
When you train to do one of these positions, are you pretty much taking the whole class? So you've experienced the whole thing, and then you're able to help?
Yes. So
and a little more in depth, I'm assuming. Yeah.
yes, it's you have the whole class as part of the training, but then they also have. So I did this most recent training. I did the online training. My initial training I did at Weimar, and it was live and in person. And they actually have a lady who works for Nedley Health who is a trainer, and that's what she does. And so she does a lot of the lectures, and then Dr. Nedley, what's presented in the course is interspersed with her talking. And she talks about all the various legal things, exactly how they want their program to run. It's a very structured program, so they really want people to follow the program because that's what they've studied and that's what works. So she goes over all of those details, a lot of what I've shared here today, but in much greater detail, and really talks about all the little nuances, like if you are an associate director and you have like 1 to 5 people in your home, she goes over those little caveats and nuances. She shares stories of successes, things that have worked, things that she wouldn't recommend. They share the best day of the week that they recommend is to do it on a Monday night because it's the beginning of the week. People are fresh off the weekend and more likely to come. However, they say if it's a winter program, it's better to do it on a Tuesday night because there's a lot of holidays that fall on Monday nights, and then you run into conflict. So we're actually running our program on a Tuesday night. And so far, we've had 3 sessions so far, and all 15 participants have come to the sessions. And so that's really good. Usually by the 3rd session, you'll see people, might be trailing off. And that's where the associate director is responsible then for reaching out to them, saying, hey, what happened this week? Is everything okay? How can we get back on track? And it's really, the program is very heavily based in building relationships with the people that are coming to the program and maintaining communication with them.
How did you advertise?
So part of the portal that the associate director has access to, there is a whole section called advertising. They have flyers that are already designed by some design person, which is great because then we didn't have to design our own, and they're editable. So you just put in, your church location or your venue that you're doing it. You put in the phone number to call you back. It already has the Nedley Health website on there. When you decide that you're going to run a program, you have to let Nedley Health know. They actually post it on their website. So if you go to Nedley Health right now and look up community programs, you'll see the Farmingdale program listed there.
Did you mail those out, or?
We put them out in the community. We put them around in area churches. We put them in health food stores. We put them in any business that would accept them. We had a sign on our front door of the church. We had a few posters made up, and so we just had them. We had church members taking them, passing them out to people. We had some church members that went door to door in their neighborhood and shared flyers. All sorts of ways. They also we had it on the radio, multiple different radio stations had it posted on their community bulletin boards. I think we were on 92 Moose and a couple other popular radio stations, and then we were also on some of the Christian radio stations. So we were all over the place. They give in their advertising packet, they already have like a radio blurb. So if there's a radio program that's willing to have a little radio spot, it's already written out what they can say. Mm-hmm. And they give you 3 different options based on the area that you live, what do you want? So they give you a variety of options. And with the flyers and posters, I think they have 3 different formats that you can choose from as well. Mm-hmm. So it's a matter of just picking out which one you want and entering your information. So that's really, really helpful with this.
So the advertising, is it limited space? Because you can only do 15 if you're an associate, and you can do an additional 15 if you have a facilitator.
No, you have to have both, an associate director and a facilitator. You can do 15.
15, okay.
And then if you have another facilitator, you can do up to 30.
Okay. So is that in the advertising, limited space, or?
It's not, and then each place can decide how they want to handle it. We decided on our end we were going to try to figure out what we could do to get facilitators. Mm-hmm. We already had myself, we already had a facilitator, so we reached out to some people, some weren't available. Mm-hmm. They are getting their training, but they weren't going to be ready in time for our program. And so I reached out to another person that I know, and she's like, oh, I don't know. And then several people had told her, I really think that you should be a facilitator for this. So she decided to get the training. And then our church has a church plant in Lewiston. Mm-hmm. And so our pastor was like, oh, I think this person in the Lewiston group would be really interested in being a facilitator. So I reached out to her, and she was actually just on her way to Weimar to go to the Emotional Health Summit. And she's like, no, I'm going to get the training anyway. So she got the training. We actually haven't needed to use her because she would have been a 3rd facilitator, okay. And we have just 15 participants. Okay. So I told her, you'll be on standby. If we need you, I'll let you know. I said, but there are other programs that are going to be coming up in the area. I know Auburn Church is going to be running a program, if not the end of this year, the beginning of next year. Okay. So hopefully as more programs crop up, we'll have a bigger pool of people that are associate directors or facilitators, mm-hmm. so that we could say, hey, we're running a program at this time. Would you be available if we need another facilitator? Yeah. Because that way you don't have to turn people away.
Okay.
Yeah.
It sounds like if you're a director, you could be, if they already had a director, you could be a facilitator.
Yes, absolutely.
But if you're a facilitator, you can't.
Right.
That's what it sounds like.
Yep, that's exactly right. So if you're a facilitator and you're trained as a facilitator, you're only a facilitator. And as the facilitator, you don't have access to all the advertising materials and all of the additional stuff that the facilitator has access to. But the associate director, if you have that training, you can play either role, just not both at the same time.
Now, do you have a hard time filling the slots? Because I know you mentioned in the beginning that people put more value on it when they're paying for something. At the same time, too, I know for some people it might be like a little too expensive. So do you find that may deter some people, or that it's just maybe a little bit more difficult to fill the slots that have them?
So they talk about that quite a bit in the online training. We actually created a payment plan for some of our people. It goes for 8 weeks, and we had them, if possible, put down $75 initially, and then pay like $25 or $30 subsequent weeks. So it's paid off really in 3 to 4 weeks. If someone needed a more extended time than that, you know, you can decide in your group what you're comfortable with and what you're willing and able to do. We did have one participant who was on a very fixed income, who is elderly, and really only had a set amount of money, and said, is there any way that I can do it for this set amount of money? And so we said yes, and we decided to sponsor the other portion. They really encourage and ask not to fully sponsor somebody, because they really want someone to have buy-in. They said even if they can only pay, $10, they're paying $10. They need to have buy-in that I did something for myself. It's not somebody else doing something for me. It's part of the process of helping to overcome the depression and anxiety, is taking an active part in the recovery process. But all of that has gone over. It's probably like a 20-minute segment of the training really talking about the fees and all of that. But one person, I had set up a payment plan with them, and it was going to be 3 or 4 weeks to pay for it, and they came the second week and had the rest of the money. And I think once people start seeing the value of the program and what they get, after the first week, one person came back, she's like, I looked at all the stuff in the kit, like, I can't believe it only cost $175. If I bought just these books, would have cost me several $100s to get these books. She's like, and I get a class, and I get a support group. She's like, this is an amazing value. So once people come and see the program, they really do see the value that is there. I don't think I mentioned the cost for facilitators. That's $249. Goes out. Sorry, I'm just checking on our time. Oh, we're good. So it's $249 for the facilitator. And I put little paragraphs on your handout that kind of give a little synopsis of what the facilitator does versus what the associate director does. I also included at the bottom some various resources. And those are really helpful things. It would give you more information to be able to find out about it. NedleyHealth.com really has tons of information. They have an online store, all of the books that you've seen here, learning more about the classes, it's all available at NedleyHealth.com. I also put their office hours there. Their office is in Texas, and so it's on Central Time. So I put the Central Time in their office hours with their phone number and their email. They're pretty responsive to email. It's a small team that works in the main office, so sometimes you call, you don't get a live person right away, you have to leave a message, but they're good about calling back and giving information. You can sign up online directly to become an associate director or a facilitator, and I put those links. Those are directly on your sheet, directly under facilitator and associate director. Those links are there. So sometimes I've had people that are like, I was trying to find where to get that training, it was really confusing, so I put the full link there. If you want to type it in, it's easier than trying to figure out how to navigate there. And then their website, it's nedleyhealth.com. but then all the additional little things will tell you exactly where the programs are being offered around the country. Really anywhere they're being offered, because they're offered in Europe, they're offered in Australia, they're all over the place. And then there's another section of the nedleyhealth.com with all that additional stuff where you can find all the scientific support. There's a lot of the research studies, a lot of the statistics, a lot of the information. So if you're like, oh, is this program really all it's cracked up to be? All the scientific research is there, so you can go and take a look at that and see. Then they have Let's Talk Mental Health blog and a resource library. So the blog itself is great, it's free. So that's a nice thing to be able to refer people to and say, hey, check this out. You know, my dad was working with an individual, was struggling in a certain area, and I went on the blog and found a topic specific to what this person was struggling with. So I shared that blog post with them. So that's a really great resource. That's item 4. And then there's also videos that are available on YouTube. So you can go on and see a little bit more about Dr. Nedley or see some of the things that he presents. Obviously, the full videos that are in this course are not available on YouTube. You have to come to the course. It's really a lot more detailed and very specific information that he shares in the course that's not available on YouTube. So it's really worth coming to the course. All of the things that you need as well, these are just some samples. So they give on the portal, they want each participant to be able to have access to all the mental health crisis lines, and they give a sample of what a page like that would look like. I created one, so this is it. If anyone wants to do a class in the area, feel free to reach out to me. I'll give you my contact info, because there's no sense reinventing the wheel. I already made it, unless you want to spend 3 hours and make one yourself. But this is it. So it's a crisis helpline on one page, and the second page is substance abuse hotlines. And then I think I forgot to put in the packet, there is the main crisis line website where I found all of these numbers and basically compiled it from their website. They have a file that you can print that's a little business size card that has all of these numbers nice and tiny, which is why I printed it on this sheet, but they're business size cards. So I printed those, they're front and back. It has the mental health crisis lines on one side and the substance abuse lines on the other. And so each participant got that in their kit. So when they picked their kits up the first day, we had that little business size card. So then they have something to have with them. They have a community survey. So when people come for the free sessions, when they arrive, they're given this community survey, already made, already on the portal. I did the editable one because they had an item that I'm like, we don't really offer that at our church, so I don't want people checking it off and wondering where it is. And I put some things on there that we don't even do right now, but I thought, well, if they check it off and we see a bunch of people want this, then it gives us an idea of what we may want in the future. So they fill it out with their name and address, which is great. Then you have their contact information. There's a box that they can check that says to contact me regarding upcoming seminars in the area. And then it just lists out various seminars like smoking cessation or stress seminar or Bible study or depression and anxiety recovery program, vegetarian cooking school, diabetes reversal, and other. So you could change that and put whatever things you wanted to there, but this is the list that they have. So that's already designed and made for you. They have a registration form already made, already designed. This doesn't go until they come to the free session and they say, oh yeah, I want to sign up, I want to do the program. They would then fill this out before they leave. And so those are done. They also have name tag templates with the Nedley logo. So you do their template and everyone wears a name tag with just their first name on it. So everyone gets to know everyone in the program. So that's designed. And they also have on the portal a welcome letter. And again, you edit it with your information. So when the person decides, yes, I want to do this program, they fill out their registration form, then they got a welcome letter, which basically welcomes them to the program, reminds them that it's for 8 weeks. It lists out all the dates of the program. Again, the times are slightly different for the first night and the last night because they need time to take the DAT test. The test takes about 30 minutes, but it can take up to 45 minutes. So they recommended in the training to start the class 45 minutes early that night in order to do the test. We opted not to do that early because our class is starting at 6 o'clock. It's already a tight squeeze for a lot of people to make it there for 6 o'clock by the time they get out of work. So we thought if we start at 5:15, I wouldn't be able to make it there for 5:15. So we decided to start just 15 minutes early and end half an hour later on that first night. And we're gonna do the same thing on the last night. And that worked just fine. Otherwise, all of our program times are 6 to 8. And that seems to be a pretty good time. We still get out at a reasonable enough time that, you know, people can get home before it starts getting too late. Then this is the form if people want continuing education credits. So the lady in my class that wants continuing education, I had her fill this out. I'm just holding on to it until the last class. In order for the participants to get the continuing education, they have to come to every single session. We do keep attendance at every session. They have attendance sheets on the portal. So you just write all your participants down, and I've just been checking it off myself instead of trying to send a clipboard around and hoping they sign up, you know, check themselves off. And small enough, they walk through the door and I put my little check. So the associate director really wants to keep track of that and keep that attendance, because if someone is missing for a week, the associate director's responsibility is to call them and follow up and see what happened and encourage them to come back to the next class. The associate director also has the ability to offer a makeup session. So one of our participants, she had come to the free session, she really wanted to do the program. She's like, I already have a vacation planned and I won't be there the first night. And I said, that's okay. So we scheduled a makeup session, and she did that. She, of course, missed out on the small group portion, but she got to see the video, she got all the material, and so she really didn't lose out on the information from that. So that's that form. I'll pass these around. If you want to look at these, this is just a little pamphlet that tells a little bit more about the DAT test. And this one just tells a little bit more about the Depression Anxiety Recovery Program as a whole. And then I just put our particular cost breakdown. So we had an individual registration was $175, and that was our class. We also had a companion registration. So you can buy a companion as a person who lives in your same household that can share all of your books. So say it's a spouse or a child. Participants can start as young as 12 years old. We have, it can start as young as 12 years old, and there's no upper age limit. So our group right now, we have 2 14-year-olds, and I think our oldest person is upper 80s. And so it really runs the gamut. So companion registrations were $85 for us. And so the companion registration gets them their own workbook, their own journal, and the DAT test. And then the rest of the kit would be whoever they're sharing with. There's also an option for returning participants. So say someone has gone through the Depression and Anxiety Recovery Program before, and they're like, oh, I want a refresher. I'm not feeling so hot. I feel like I need to do this again. They can come back and participate again, and you just charge them a nominal fee that helps to cover the door prizes in the facility. So we had that, like, if they're only coming to the class, $15, something nominal that they're coming back as a return person. We do have one return participant, but because the program has been so upgraded since she did the initial one, she wanted to pay the companion price and get a new workbook, get the journal. The journal is new this time. They did not used to have the journal, so that has just come out. So she wanted all of those pieces, and she wanted to do the DAT again. When I talked to the Nedley Health Office, they're like, oh, she's already gone through, she doesn't need to pay for the DAT. And I said, oh no, she wants the DAT because she wanted to see where she's starting, where her results are, and see her improvement there. And then our simple payment plan was, we were asking them to pay $75 registration, then $35 for the first class, $35 for the second class, and $30 for the third class. but I had someone that even wanted a lesser payment plan than that. So I just worked with them, and that's up to the associate director to work individually with that person, and all of that is explained in detail in the training. The training is real, like, if you have a question after the training, there's really nothing left to ask. They really cover everything. But even if you do have a question after the training, you're on the portal. So you can type in to other associate directors and facilitators. You also have the lady that does the training. Her name is Cami. She's available on email. You can reach out to her. They also give you the direct people in the office that you can reach out and talk to. So they're really responsive. If you have questions, if you need to figure out how do I do this, what do I do, they're available. So it's a really well-designed program for that. So that's what I have pretty much in a nutshell. We have 10 minutes to spare. So are there any questions that I haven't answered or things that might have come to mind?
I was just thinking about something that can come up is people don't get along. Like maybe somebody feels like somebody's dominating the conversation, something like that. I don't know if they deal with that in, if you can switch people or.
So they do deal with that in the training. That's part of the role of facilitator, is to really keep people on target when you're in those small group discussions. And if you see someone dominating, taking control of that situation, they give examples on how to do that. And then if you are still having trouble in that session, they talk about talking to that person outside of the group. And if you need to, you can get the associate director involved in talking to that person. There also can be conflicts, which we had one with someone who was a facilitator and someone who came to one of the free sessions, saw that person was a facilitator and was like, I don't want to do it. And I said, I can put you in a different group. You don't have to have that person as a facilitator. I said, you'll have to see them because they're here and we all meet as a group to watch the video, but I'll have you in a separate group. So they won't know any of your information. Anything that you share is going to be in your personal group, and they were fine with that. So I try to work all those things out before the groups. We really don't like to switch people once groups start. I did have to break the rules and switch one because they like to keep, if you have a parent and a child, unless it's a minor child, then they have to be with their guardian that they came with. But if it's an adult child, they recommend separating an adult child and an adult parent because they may feel more comfortable talking about certain things. They recommend if you have a husband and a wife, they go to separate groups because they may feel more comfortable sharing or talking about things.
Talk about each other.
Share about each other. And people can join up to the third session. So now our group is closed, but we did have somebody join like the second session, and her mother was already in. She joined because the mother was telling her about it, and so she decided to join. The mother was already in a group. That was my smaller group, so it would have been the natural place to put her in that group, but the mother was already in that group, and so I wanted to separate her from the mother, but my other group was already bigger, which was going to make it too big. And because we were only one session in, there was one lady that I thought, if I just move her over here, it's not going to be a big deal. And the way our church is structured, we're meeting for our class in an upstairs room, and then you come downstairs and there's a small group, and then you go down another set of stairs and there's a small group. And she was all the way down, and she's one of our elderly participants. So it's like, I switched you to the group on the middle floor. You only have to go down the stairs once. So she was happy for that, and it worked out and it was fine. If we were further in, I would have just had to have her be in the group with her mom because I wouldn't have wanted to switch things around like that. Yeah. But all of those details, all of those little things, you're like, oh, what if this situation arises? Or what if this happens? They also go over certain types of participants that you do not want to have in your program. So there may be certain people that they have active schizophrenia and they are having active episodes and it's not well managed with medication. They're going to be a disruption to the program, and it's not going to be beneficial for them to be there. You want to encourage them to get help, and it goes over what to do and to let them know, you know, we're so happy that you came. This isn't the program for you at this time. Here's other options for you. And so it goes over if somebody comes to one of your free sessions and they're actively suicidal, it tells you, what do I do about that? Okay. They're on the registration form, one of the questions that is checked off, have you ever attempted suicide? Are you actively considering suicide? Do you have a plan? You know, it is asking you some of these things. And so the associate director needs to look at those registration forms, and you would pull that person aside and talk to them a little bit more. One of the other red flags is bipolar disorder. If somebody is not stabilized with their bipolar, they might be a big disruption to the program. So you would have to let them know this isn't the right venue for you at this point in time. We do have a participant with bipolar, but is currently medicated, is stable, and is participating effectively. So it's really a call of the associate director as you're interacting with the person in that free session as they're registering to see, is this really going to be okay? But all of that is spelled out in the training.
Okay.
Every little piece. I mean, it's like 14 hours. Every little piece is spelled out.
So that's taking place in person, that screening, or just in the registration?
Yes. So the registration form, is here, and so it asks, are you currently being treated by a physician? Are you currently seeing a therapist or counselor? Have you ever attempted suicide? If yes, how long ago? Are you considering suicide now?
But does it go beyond suicide? Does it also go into like other mental health issues?
Yep. Have you previously been diagnosed with any mental disorders? Check all that apply. It includes major depression, schizophrenia, generalized anxiety disorder, other psychological disorders, please specify, obsessive compulsive disorder, bipolar disorder.
Okay.
So they're filling all of this out as they're registering. If somebody leaves a lot of this blank, that's where the associate director would pull them aside and say, hey, you know, why is this blank? I need that, you know, we need this information. You just really reiterate that it's confidential, that it's private. We actually have an announcement that's running in our bulletin right now that says, due to the confidential nature of the program, no members or guests are allowed on the grounds from after 5 p.m.
Okay.
So that we want everybody to be out of there, and the only people that are coming are people that are in the program, because we really want the people to feel safe. We don't want somebody I didn't know they were going to this program. Oh, what are you doing here? What, you know, and some people, especially in church circles, if there's members of the church that are coming, sometimes it's very hard for them to share with other people that they're struggling with a mental health issue or that they're having these issues. They don't want everyone seeing that they're coming and going. So we stressed repeatedly, and we have several people that are involved in our churches, and they're like, this is confidential, right? Yeah, yes, it's confidential. We're not sharing who's participating. The only people that know that you're here are the other people. And for our free sessions, we did have some people at the registration table. And so obviously they saw if people registered, but we've had additional people register after they were done with the, you know, after class started, and they don't know those new people. So, and they also took confidentiality, like, nope, this is confidential. Don't share with anyone who's here. And that's really helped. And you can see the stress level come down when they know that it's confidential. There's not a random person walking through the church or accidentally opens your door. Oh no, excuse me. We really don't want that. We really want to keep the confidentiality piece there.
Now, you mentioned that the companion package was $85, right?
That's what we did.
Okay, that's what you guys did.
Yeah.
So typically, because I know it seems like it's flexible a bit, what the cost for the seminars are.
Mm-hmm.
Typically, how much is a bag? Like, what is that costing you?
So, as an associate director, if you purchase at least 10 kits, the kit is $100 per participant.
Okay.
If you purchase less than 10 kits, I think each kit is like $129 or $149. I don't remember. It's on the portal, and all of that's included in the training.
Okay.
And the companion kit is like $79.
Okay.
So that's like the base price for the actual materials.
Okay.
Yeah. And so then you decide with your group, once you have gone through the training, and the portal will have access to a link with the most up-to-date prices on the materials. So you see, what do the materials cost? We had decided as a group, no matter how many people sign up, we're going to order 10 kits because it's such a savings. And then if we don't use all 10 kits, we'll offer another program, and we'll already have kits available. because the savings is significant
Yeah.
if you order 10 or more kits.
Okay.
So we just decided to do the 10 or more kits. But we ended up with 15 participants, so we were good. I had to call back several times and place more orders to get more stuff.
Okay.
But once you order that initial 10, I placed another order for one more kit. It didn't go up to the higher
Oh,
price. I was already
hearing that.
yeah,
Okay.
no, I was already over 10, so I still got the discounted rate on that next kit. And then I had another person come as a companion. The daughter that came, she and her mom actually live in the same home, so I was able to give her the companion kit. So I called and ordered a companion kit, and so everything once you pass the 10, you get the more discounted rate.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
That's each time that you run a seminar, though, right?
Each time, yeah. So like now, like if I run another seminar and I have 3 people,
Yeah.
I have to order 3 kits. Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's per seminar, and I have access to those discounted rates while I'm running a registered seminar.
Okay.
So I can't just go and be like, oh, I think I want to get one of these kits and give it to my friend for this. No,
Yeah.
they can only get that discounted rate if they're a registered participant in the program.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Do you know who's gonna be running the one in Auburn?
It will be Sydney Norso and Jackie.
Have they already done the training?
They're working on their training because I reached out to them to see if they wanted to help with ours, and they weren't able to get it done in time, and they're working on an addiction outreach, which they're going to be talking about in one of the other breakout sessions. They're working on that, and so they were thinking that this would be very helpful in conjunction with doing the addiction outreach is to have an NDARP. So I gave them the links and all of that, and so I know that it's in the works, but nothing's been finalized or firmed up yet.
And you mentioned the church can help with the cost of these trainings, right? Or partial or full.
It depends on what you want to do. So myself, I just went to the church because I liked this, and I said, I have this training, and this person in my outreach team also has the training, and we want to do this program. The church was like, great. And we had already paid for ours, so they didn't have to do anything. As an outreach team, I didn't even take it to the whole church. The person that needed to some assistance to become a facilitator, we had some funds within our outreach team. So we talked to the outreach team. We're like, no, let's just cover the other costs. So we covered it out of our outreach budget
Okay.
because we felt it was such an important part of what we're doing for outreach. So each church could determine how to handle that. Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, there is no discount on the actual training. I mean, if you go online to the portal, it says $499 and you click buy, and that's what it costs, and it's $249 for the facilitator.
Okay.
So the facilitator has access to all of the same training. The videos that you watch, you go through all the same training. It just is a lot less money. You can't ever serve as an associate director, and you don't have access to all of the things on the portal. But in terms of knowledge base and in terms of your training and feeling like, oh, I know what's going on as a facilitator, it's not like, oh, you get this little bit and, oh, the associate director has extra insight. You have privy to the training. So you're very well versed as a facilitator as well in what's going on and happening.
Thank you.
2 questions. One, can you speak more about the spiritual aspect of the NDARP training?
It's really incorporated in the workbooks and the journal, the gratitude journal that they started. It has a devotional, a daily devotional portion. Yeah, this is the journal. So week 1, day 1 of the journal, with God, recovery is possible. It gives you a couple of scripture references, and then it has a little devotional, The Depressed Prophet. And it gives you the biblical reference, 1 Kings 19:4, and has a little reading for that, and then has an area for you to put your gratitudes and then your reflections that you have from that. And this goes day by day.
Okay.
So it's a daily devotional program. And then at the end of the week, there's a little summary, and the end of week 1 gives you some principles for reading scripture. So it's actually giving you some tidbits of how to better understand scripture and incorporate that. So this journal is heavily spiritual. Then there's the videos, the class videos incorporate more deeply spiritual components. All of it will talk of, trying to think of the wording that's used, but all of it talks about, if you're familiar with the 8 laws of health, it's trust and divine power. And so there'll be that sort of concept in all of the material, but the videos that are specifically religious will have stories, like these that are in the devotional, that are shared as part of evidence-based. I think one of the stories is Daniel. This is the first, health study was Daniel and his friends, and they'll go over that. So it's incorporated in that way.
But in regards to the training, however, for like the associate director or facilitator, would that be the foundation to the training?
And I'm not sure I'm understanding your
For
question.
the spirituality type of training for this particular, like the director, facility, or facilitator position.
Yeah.
What's the training for that?
I don't know that there's specifically spiritual training for it. I mean, the training is really about how to run the program and how to offer the program. And then the spiritual components are incorporated in the videos of the actual classes,
Okay.
if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
So they're not really providing spiritual training for you as an associate director or facilitator.
Right.
They're providing training on how to run the program. The program itself incorporates spirituality. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. It does. My last question was in terms of people you get in the program,
Mm-hmm.
to go through the entire program. Do you notice more Adventists or non-Adventists in the programs?
I think it depends on the area and the advertising. We have a mix right now. I would say we have more Adventists, but it's also the first time that we've run the program, and so people sort of heard about it through the churches. We have a person that's coming from the community who we started 2 years ago running an annual health expo. She came to our first health expo, and then she was familiar with who we were, and then she saw advertising for this, and she's like, oh, I want to go to that. They did the expo, and we had talked about possibly running one of these programs. We didn't have it in the docket, but we had the material at the health expo, and she had been interested. So when she saw that we were offering it, she decided to come, and she did sign up, and she's a participant now. So that was another way of advertising, was having the information available at the expo. The expo that we had this year, we hosted each year in March, and this was starting in April. And we had our first free session was the Sunday after the expo. So we had the expo one Sunday, and we had flyers at the expo. Next Sunday, we have this available. Or if you can't come next Sunday, we have these 2 other dates available. So we did advertising at the expo for it as well. Yeah. But I think it just depends. There's another church, I think it was in Tennessee. They had tried to put on a program, and they didn't have anyone sign up. So it's really a matter of prayer and really asking God to bring the people that He wants to have there, and really trusting that God's going to fill. We were a bit nervous because our first free session, we had a good number of people that showed up to the free session. We had 1 person sign up, and 1 person that had done it before that was re-signing up, and that's it. And then our second session was a major snowstorm, and we had to cancel. And then we were going to have a 3rd session, and we were just praying, Lord, we want to have people, we want to have a group size. If we just have this 1 or 2 people, we'll do it, but it's not going to be the same dynamic for a group discussion and really sharing if we don't have enough people. And we really prayed, and the Lord blessed by we're now a closed session, and we have 15 participants. So that first day we just had 2 people, and even the person that signed up that first day reached out to me, did any more people sign up? I don't think I want to do this if I'm the only person. We're like, no, more people signed up. So they were thankful, and yeah, it's going.
Yeah,
Yeah, you're welcome. And if anyone wants my direct contact information, I'm happy to give that to you. The email address is 2117rev@gmail.com. Well, thank you all.
Thank you.
Faithful little group.